Good evening, everyone. This is Joanne with For Better For Worse, and the avatar on the bottom is Miss Nancy Traveling. So, Nancy?
Hi, everybody. It's Nancy Reyes, and I'm on the road on the way home from a seminar. So, looking forward to it. This is a new adventure. Joanne's in charge tonight, so there you go.
We would like to welcome Shannon Davis, and Chris is off screen. He might make an appearance with Southtown Canine. So, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. And maybe
Chris has allergies, so he's not willing to be seen tonight. So.
Yeah.
So hey, Melanie. So these guys are a few years. How long have you been in Rockford?
We're Rock Falls. So we're about an hour south of Rockford. Close enough. We started in 2014, so we're going on our 8th season.
It doesn't seem like that long.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Yes. So these guys are in Rock Falls. They are, I think, really from kind of Des Moines to Chicago, right? One of the only dock diving facilities that's south of 88, probably, right?
Yeah, there's a couple more popping up, but for as far as organization wise, we're the only one that holds events.
Okay. So, hi Sharon, hi Barb, hi Deb. So I think one of the first questions we wanted to ask you guys is, how did you get started in dock diving? What got you into the sport?
All right. Well, years ago, I don't know if you remember seeing it on like ESPN. There was the Great Outdoor Games. Mm-hmm. There was they were jumping dogs into a lake or a pond, and that's when it started. And I thought, oh, that's cool. That'd be fun to do. And then we moved out here to Illinois from California, and we had a couple what you would call the pet labs at the time. We weren't into sports or anything. And I actually found a guy that was just about 10 minutes from me that went to Dock Dog Worlds. So I messaged him on Facebook, and I'm like, hey, how do you get involved in this? So we met at the local marina and just started with Jackson. He was my first sport dog. I went up to Kenosha a month later to compete with Ultimate Air Dogs, and that was it. We just got hooked and kept jumping.
That's awesome. And the dogs just really tend to love it, right? Especially labs.
Yes. The labs absolutely love it. It's better than water and retrieving.
Sure.
So Shannon, how about, I know a lot of the labs and certain dogs have a very natural desire and talent to go in the water, so it's easier. Mm-hmm. Have you had dogs, or have you worked with dogs that maybe initially weren't so excited about jumping in, but then decided that it was okay and they wanted to do that? Is that usually common, or are the most competitive dogs that naturally just want to swim and go in the water?
No, we've had dogs ranging from last year, I think he started, was a Yorkie. My first little tiny small dog. He's great. He absolutely loves it. Pit bulls, Belgian Malinois, of course. But there are dogs that come out here that have no idea how to swim first. So we start with that, and then we like baby steps. We just don't go up to the top of the dock and say, okay, throw the toy in and let's see what happens. I like to start with the ramp, and we build confidence. And then dogs that, maybe they're not so sure about it at first, by a couple lessons, a lot of them you can't get them out of the pool. They just love it. And it's a good, dog diving is a good confidence builder all around. Just to get a dog, we've seen them go from kind of okay to really confident on what they're doing. In home life as well as just dog diving.
Yeah, because I know some of the people that I know that do dog diving. Yeah, the dog had to learn how to swim, and once they did, dock diving came pretty naturally. So I was just curious about, how many, because I know pit bulls tend to love swimming too, but I was just wondering, like, One of my shepherds swims, the other one does not. My lab, of course, absolutely does. So.
Yeah, the German shepherds, we've had a couple out here. There's been some that no problem whatsoever, and other ones we had to really start with the toy drive and just build up the confidence on the ramp.
Tell them about Liam, one of our
Yeah.
biggest jumpers.
Yeah, so Liam, he's a Belgian Malinois. He started out here. We had to Scott in the pool, kind of help floating him around, and then the next pool rental, he got a little better and a little better until we were up on the dock, and now he's my pool record holder at 31.3.
Wow.
Now, I mean, not all of them are going to be like that, of course, but you know, I have an American bully. She's my odd man out. You know, it took me 3 years to get her off the dock. You know, she'll go down the ramp and she'll swim and she loves it, but that height for her is just like, no way. It's only 2 feet, but it's high when you're standing up there, especially for a dog that's only, 17 inches tall.
Clear water.
But I have to sit on the dock and kick the water in order for her to jump. But she'll go.
So now, did you say, and that was one of my questions kind of I wanted to ask, the top of the dock is 2 feet from the water?
Yes. That's standard regulation is 2 feet.
It seems like so much more than that.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
I did have that dog, right? He loved the water, but we got up, he'd dive off the ramp, right? But then we got up on top. He's like, oh, it was like, looking
Right?
down, jumping off a skyscraper. So he's like, no,
I don't like jumping off of it. Why with the dog?
Yeah. So how do you do you have another stepping stone? I know you do the ramp and you kind of get them on the dock. Do you have another stepping stone between the top of that dock and just jumping off the top of the ramp?
Yeah. So we start with the ramp, and what I do is we just roll the toy down, let them go down the ramp, and we work on that. And then we start tossing the toy out a little further and a little further. I don't like to put a dog on the dock until they're running down the ramp and jumping in the pool, because then that shows me they are comfortable with the ramp, comfortable with swimming, comfortable with knowing how to get out of the pool. That's a big thing, is how do they get out?
Okay.
Then we go to the dock. We don't start with, okay, put your dog back at 40 feet and let's go and see what happens, because the dock is 40 feet long. So we'll just have them kind of play, turn, and throw it. If they go in, great. If they don't, then we kind of gauge on what they're doing. Are they nervous about it? Well, maybe we need to sit and kick the water and whatever it takes at that point, except for pushing them off, of course, to get them in the water. Some dogs will go right away. Some dogs won't. I have a couple of my own that like me to just play with them and turn and throw it, because then that's less thinking. If you put them in a sit stay right away, then they have to think, okay, what's she doing? What's the toy doing? What am I doing? And there's too much thinking involved. And then they're like, no.
Okay. So you're just using some of that toy drive that you build to just oh, go get it. And then, oh, look, I just jumped off.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
And then, of course, it's a lot of reward, a lot of praise, a lot of, yeah, you did it, And then usually they're like, oh, hey, I didn't die. That's great. Let's do it again. And then you can't keep them out.
Kind of like kids a little bit. When they figure out I can dive in, right?
Right.
Okay. So I'm pausing a little bit because I can't see Nancy's face. So if she wants to ask something, I'm waiting a little bit. So I know that especially in this sort of area, kind of from Chicago to my area, and you're right in the middle of that. This has really sort of taken off as a summer sport, right? I mean, there's so many people now getting interested in it.
Absolutely. So, go ahead.
What are the different venues? I know there's a bunch of we have AKC, UKC. What are all the different options?
So there are several different organizations. There's NAD, which is North America Diving Dogs. They have a title recognition program for AKC. UKC now has their own dock jumping program. So they used to do it through Ultimate Air Dogs, but now it's their own program. So you have UKC, Dock Dogs, Purina Incredible Dog Challenge, Ultimate Air Dogs, and Super Retriever Series.
Okay.
So there's a lot. So it all really depends on what your goals are for dog diving. Of course, first and foremost, a lot of people just want to have fun with their dogs. Of course, we all do. And that's great. So you can really compete with anybody at that point. If you're looking for titles, for pedigrees, for breeding purposes, or whatever purposes, then you have your AKC and UKC. And if you're really looking for competition, then you're looking at like a Dogs or a Super Retriever Series Ultimate Air Dogs. Those are more competition based, where you're doing placements first, second, and third, going to championships, that kind of thing.
Okay. And so then in each of those venues, oh, Lynn says, and pure pups.
Yes, and pure pups, yes. Yes.
So in all those venues, like are there different games? I know I've seen where there's like the really high jump, and then there's one where they go out, and the one where the person throws it and catches it. Can you kind of explain what the different games are?
Yes. So there's distance. Okay. That's your first one and your most popular. That one, the dog runs down the dock, jumps in the pool. It's measured at the base of the tail, so where the tail enters the water. Most of them are manual judges. There's a couple organizations that have the cameras, but most of them are manual judging. There's air retrieve and fetch it. Those are the two same. They're the same game, just different organizations. That one is where the bumper is hung 2 foot above the dock. Okay. So it's roughly around 4 feet off the water, starting at 6 foot or 10 foot, depending on your organization, and is moved out a foot every time the bumper is. And then they don't have to grab it. They just have to knock it off of the clips. Then there's extreme vertical. That one is usually, once the rig is swung around, it's 8 foot from the bumper. 8 foot from the dock. And it starts at 4'6" high from the dock and is moved up in 2-inch increments. And then there's hydro dash and then speed retrieve. Those two are speed swim games. Raider run, that's another speed game. That's from SRS. So those two, hydro dash and Raider run, they start at 10 foot on the dock. They jump, time starts. They go out to the 37-foot mark, grab the bumper, come back, time stops when they cross the 10-foot mark. So it's a long there and back swim game. Speed retrieve with dock dogs is 20 foot on the dock, and it's just one way. They grab the bumper, time stops.
Oh, okay.
A lot of them. There's a couple organizations that actually have catching games. So, it's distance, but you're throwing the bumper, and if they catch it, then they get points, or they're judged on where the dog caught it versus and where they land. So there's quite a few different games you could play, or disciplines.
Okay. And Lori made a comment in here. She said, her dog Divot loves going off the dock, but she jumps flat. So the goal is to get her to jump up and out. Now, can you talk a little about the physics of that? I know you're talking about there's a game, right, where is the end goal for them to catch the bumper? Is the end goal for them to track the bumper and jump a certain way? Can you talk about the kind of like the dog's physique and why it's good to jump them a certain way?
Okay. So a lot of dogs jump flat, and they'll do great, but you're going to plateau out. There's the magical formula really for dock jumping is your speed on the dock plus your height, get your distance. So I was told an analogy a while back, think of a garden hose, and as you're holding it, it's pretty flat, but as you lift it up, it's going to go up and out and arc, and you're going to get farther out. So we do groundwork, which is helping them track the bumper. You can do frisbees, rollers, whatever to look at it. Because if you're doing a frisbee roller, they're turning their heads back and forth to watch the toy to grab it. So that's making them look at what you're doing. And then you want to convert that over to the bumper and then tossing it up. You do groundwork, and then hopefully it translates to the dock. It doesn't always. I have one that we're working on that with. But your ultimate goal really isn't to have them catch it. It's neat when they catch it and it looks awesome, but you want that pop to get out farther.
Okay. Is there any danger for them jumping a certain as another? To their structure, you always want to make sure your dog's in shape, of course, right? But,
yes.
For the impact to the water, is there any difference in the way that they jump?
It depends. Some dogs will hit the end of the dock really hard, which can be hard on their joints. You just kind of got to watch it, and you got to know your dog. If that's a dog that does that, you want to make sure that everything's moving right. A lot of us in the dock jumping do the massages, the canine massages for the dogs, chiropractor, to make sure that they're always in good shape. We keep them lean, and just make sure they're good.
So I have a question. So yeah, and this kind of goes in time with it. So I know some of the people who are on tonight have young dogs that are just starting to learn how to swim. So at what age can you start? So it's a couple questions. At what age can you start jumping them? Right, especially if you have like some of I think Sharon and Mark have young puppies. They're maybe 4 or 5 months old. So do you start jumping them then, or do you just try to get them to get better at swimming and just building that stamina, or how do you start a young puppy on that journey to do dock diving?
So mine I've always started at 8 or 9 weeks, as long as it was nice outside. If you're lucky enough to have an indoor pool that's around you that you can go and swim and build that confidence for swimming, I always start them with a life vest, always, just to help build that a little extra confidence and not go under. They can actually compete at 6 months old. So we just watch them. Like I said, you know your dog and how they're going to be. They're luckily landing in water, so it's not like it's a hard surface landing, like if you're doing agility or disc or anything like that. And swimming is really good for them. So like I said, the earlier the better for swimming, and then you gauge how they are as they get older, and they can compete at 6 months.
Okay, so then to piggyback on that, so if you've already got a dog that's doing dock diving, like I know some people in my area that are regular, they dock dive, but in the winter there's not really, like around by me, there is no pools indoor. I mean, they're pretty far away, some of the ones, the competition ones, so there's no real pools around. So how do you keep your dog in shape to gear up for that season, for that summer season?
Right.
Keep them physically fit, if you don't have access to a pool.
No, I know what you mean, because we don't have any local indoor pools around me either. So what I like to do in the winter with mine is I like to give them a break, because if they're doing something constantly, they're going to get bored of it. At least mine do. So we give them a break. So when we do go back, they're excited about doing it. We have a dog treadmill. They love to run in the snow. That's really good for them, up and over the, the snow banks that we have out here. Fit paws, just stuff to do around the house, just to keep them lean, of course, and just let them be dogs for the winter.
Okay. All right. I was just, because I know, more and more people are wanting to teach their dog swimming, and there's, not very many places you can, you know what I mean? Take
right.
Them, so just do regular. So your dogs are off from like what, October till March? Is that?
Yeah, March, usually April to May, depends on the weather.
You do hunt.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I also do shed hunting with my dogs and hunt tests and fast cat. So there's a couple other things that we can do. So we dabble in other sports as well, that keep them in shape too.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes total sense then. Yeah. Okay.
They're getting winter swims for ducks.
Right. Well, when I have new people call me like during the winter and want to know what to do, I tell them first and foremost is make sure your dog knows how to swim, which then you're not wasting all of your summertime, trying to teach your dog to swim. And then they finally, they're swimming at the end of the season, and now no more dock diving. So I tell them, try and find a place that they can go indoors. There are there's one in Rockford. There's one up by Woodlawn, I think it is. So there's a couple of them around. I know there's one in Quad City area that they can at least go and start to swim their dogs.
Okay. So it's just more about confidence in the water and not being able to touch and getting in, getting out. That's a huge beginning part of the sport.
Yes. And another big part is big too is, people will take their dogs to the ponds or the rivers and everything, and they swim and they love it. But the clear water is so different from a pond or a lake or creek or anything, because they can see the bottom. They don't know it's water. And they have no depth perception. So they're like, am I touching? Am I not? Or it's, they kind of freak out for a second because they don't know it's water. And then once they learn, they're like, well, why didn't you tell me that? It's just water. Let's go.
Nice. Yeah, Barb says Wooddale is where one of those indoor pools is. So, okay. So kind of going back to you guys a little bit. What made you love this so much that you decided to buy a pool and turn it into a business? That's a big plunge.
It is. I love it that my dogs love it. They have fun. It's a good bonding experience. It's teamwork between you and the dog. There's timing involved. There's training involved. So there's a lot that goes on between you and your dog when it comes to it. As far as me, like I said, I took Jackson out and we started. And then the marina where we practice is kind of off of the Rock River. So if the river's not moving, then it gets stinky, and then your dogs are stinky. And there's fish hooks in there and snakes and just not so fun stuff. And I was on a Facebook swap site one night, and I saw a 17 by 30 foot pool, smaller one. So I made the deal with the guy. I went and rolled Chris up at 10 o'clock and said, we're going to go get this tomorrow. And he's like, okay. So we drove out to Quad Cities and picked it up. And I said, just build me, a 20-foot dock. That's all I want. It's just a place to practice. It's a smaller pool. I don't need 40 feet. He said, no. I know you. I'll build the 20-foot. And then a week later, you're going to say, no, I need 40. So I'm just going to build it for you. I'm like, okay. So I got the dock. And then next thing you know, Debbie from NAD was calling me saying, hey, why don't you just hold a couple trials? And then you can get some money and buy a bigger pool. And that was 2014. So I'm like, okay, let's try it, see what happens. And that was the end of it. 2015, we got the bigger pool, and then we've just been going ever since.
Who knew, right?
Right? Who knew? A pool and a dock.
No, that's great. That's great. Yeah. So like how much, I know both of you work regular people jobs, right? This is not your living.
Yes.
So what kind of upkeep does it take to, have a pool that big and keep it clean for events? And I don't know, everything else that's involved in a pool. Like what does a week of pool time look like for you?
A lot. Especially like when fall comes with all the leaves in the corn husks from the fall, from the plowing and all that. But no, during the week, I have to touch that pool pretty much every day because of the dog hair. So I need to keep my filters clean, the baskets clean, get the tumbleweeds off the bottom of the pool, big clumps of hair. You got to vacuum it. You got to check the levels all the time. I keep my chlorine levels pretty low for the dogs, but high enough to where it keeps it clean, but not, the pool lady's like, yeah, it needs to be super yellow and high chlorine. I'm like, no. So we kind of keep it low, just the pH, and, I have to vacuum the dock all the time because we have pine trees there. So there's needles on the dock. So I need to make sure that stays clean, and there's a lot.
So you're probably happy when it comes October and you can say, we're closing it.
Yeah, turn it off. But then, then come April when we start again, we're ready to go. I can't wait for the weather to finally cooperate. Luckily, the dogs have been in the pool a couple times already, but it's so hit and miss. Like this week's supposed to be colder again.
Yeah.
You take your pool completely down in the?
We used to for the first few years. We took it up and down, which was a lot, and then 2 years ago we finally decided let's just go for it and leave it up. But we drain it about halfway, and then we have to take off all the fittings, and then one of us, we have to flip a coin to get in the pool to put the winterized in there's like where the hoses go, but we have to keep the water out during winter because it's plastic and water expands, so it'd crack them. So you got to put a plug in it, which means you got to get in the pool. And by October, it's kind of cold.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotta invest in that wetsuit just for pool cleaning.
Yeah, Chris is saying we need to, yeah. Because then we have to flip a coin come March and April to get one of who's going to get back in to take him out. Chris did it this year. He was a good sport.
Nice.
So for training, so you said you use a vest, and I know there's a couple of schools of thought on teaching the puppies or dogs to swim. Some people think you should use a life vest all the time, and some dogs like, and for some not. So you say for puppies you always use a life vest to train them, to start teaching them how to swim. Do you do the same for adult dogs, or do some dogs just natural, or they just mostly get it?
No, if the owner is, because if they go down and actually step off the ramp and go down, if they don't have a life vest on, they're going to sink for a second and going to come back up, and they're going to freak out a little bit. At least the life vest will hold them up even more. And also then I like the handle on them, because then you can grab them easier than trying to grab a collar or a scruff. You know, you can just grab the handle and help turn them around. And then you just kind of watch them by ear. If they're really swimming confidently, you take it off. There's some dogs. My bully's mom, okay, she can swim great, but she can't float because she's a bully. So she just, she's like a rock and thinks, but she loves to jump. So she jumps with a life vest. They are allowed to jump with a life vest because that's a safety thing. We have a Rottweiler that comes out here, and he's still fairly new and building confidence. He swims good. He can jump, but that life vest just gives him a little more confidence. So we let him jump with it.
Okay.
I didn't realize that. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, I saw some dogs with, I see some dogs with gear, like, I don't know.
Swimsuits.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what is it? Yeah. So are those the life vests? Maybe more cool fashion statement wise, or is that just something for the water not hitting them so hard?
Well, the swimsuits, those are more like a neoprene, I think, which are just for looks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want my dog to be pink when they jump.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's some people that have an outfit for every different jump.
Okay.
Oh.
I've seen it. But,
Right.
you know, some of them pictures. If you have black dogs, like all mine, they don't come out well in pictures. So it helps contrast, and you can get better pictures with it. But some of them too, like your border collies or Goldens that have more of the hair, when they come out of the water, they like drop 20 pounds of water. So those suits actually help keep their fur a little bit more on the dry side so they don't get as heavy. So there is a good purpose for them.
Okay.
But it's mainly for fashion.
Okay. All right. Well, because I too have a black dog.
Yes.
And Chris actually got a very nice picture of her swimming. So
He's had lots of practice with the black dogs, so.
yeah. Few people can get a good picture of her.
Yeah.
So okay. So yeah, because I thought I saw that like little neoprene, and I just thought there was a more
Functional purpose.
Right.
well, but I would agree with the border collies and Goldens. The hair, the heavier hair is really, that makes total sense. Then,
No.
especially multiple jumps, for the first one you'll be okay, but not for the subsequent ones. So.
Oh, right. No, they come out and the water just pours.
Well, do you think that they make a difference in like what were you calling it, like speed retrieve or anything? Kind of like, the Olympians have the super tight swimsuits, right? Does it help like make hair sleeker to slide through the pool?
I don't know. That would be a good scientific experiment to do, because I don't know if it would really shave time off or not. Being, maybe more aerodynamic through the water.
Yeah, that's interesting. What was my other question? Oh, okay. So now we're talking about puppies and getting them in shape. So for some of the older dogs, like when you have a dog that's been doing dog diving for a long time and competing, when do you decide, okay, we're not going to compete anymore? You're getting too old, or some issues are happening, or whatever. When do you decide, like for your own dogs, like when do you decide it's time for them to retire?
That's gonna be on them. You gotta watch how they're jumping, how their hips are. Are they sore after one splash, or can they do 3 or 4 in the day, and see how they are? Like Jackson, my oldest, he just turned 9. He'll still compete. Last year, I saw that he was slowing down a little bit. He is on the taller side of labs. He is 27 and a half inches at the wither. So he's a tall boy. So I get a little worried about his legs and his hips, because I know he hits the bottom of that pool when he jumps. So we kind of watch him. Last year, we didn't jump every single splash all weekend with him. We just kind of backed him up a little bit. And then now we're going to swim him a lot more versus jumping. So maybe he'll only do one or 2 splashes per day, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
But there's still dogs that are jumping 10, 12, 13 years old.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I figured it was pretty dog dependent, like, dogs having more and more trouble jumping or whatever. So, yeah.
Right.
I was curious if you notice some of the dogs that maybe, but most of the dogs can still continue to swim as long as they want to. It's just the jumping that you stop, right?
Right. Yeah, because the swimming is really good for them and their joints and their hips, and because it helps keep everything moving and the fluid in their joints, and it's really good for them.
Nice. So Sherry had an interesting concept. She said she puts her dog Ella in a suit to differentiate types of events. So she's naked for one type of jump, she's in a suit for another type of jump, so she knows which things she's working on. So she said, I don't know if it works, but so that's an interesting concept, right? You got this collar for this, you got a harness for this. I know lots of people do that in sports. So
yeah, it makes sense. It's your equipment for that particular job that they're doing. So maybe they associate the one with the other. Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say, just to go back real quick on the suits and everything that they wear, they do actually make doggy wetsuits out of actual wetsuit material. There are some people that have those for their dogs. Like I know some Dobermans that wear them, because if they hit the water like that and they're really don't have a lot of fur or a lot of cushion, they can really do the belly flop.
Okay.
Which we all know belly flops can hurt. So that the wetsuit actually helps a little bit. If you have a dog that's on the smaller side, or you need to keep them a little warmer because they don't have a lot of hair or a lot of body fat, then those help as well.
Okay. So
because the Dobermans are such delicate flowers.
Hey, you leave Dobermans alone. Yeah, I was almost thinking, some of those October jumps. I mean, because those are scheduled a long time ago, right? So if it's 40 degrees in October and your events, there, people are coming, right?
Right.
So yeah, okay, all right. Interesting that they make that stuff. Makes sense. So I know Nancy was asking kind of about when to stop. Just talking a little bit about safety and at trials, if you notice a dog's having an issue, right? And I think we see it in a lot of sports, agility, maybe the dog's got a little something going on, would it be the judge, or is there kind of an inspection at all? If a dog's not doing so well, you would hope somebody would notice, but is that just kind of owner dependent, or is there any kind of inspection that happens?
There's not really an inspection, kind of like Fast Cat, you know, how they do the
Sure.
trot down. There's
Yeah.
nothing like that. It's really up to the judge, facility owner, and any other volunteers or workers. We kind of watch all the dogs and see what's going on. We, knock on wood, luckily haven't really had too many issues, if any at all, where if there is something, I would have to go to the owner and say, hey, I don't think it would be a good idea that you continue to jump this dog. Maybe they're too tired, or cold tail. Cold tail is one of them that comes out quite often. You know, I have had to point out to somebody, hey, I think your dog has cold tail. It'd probably be a good idea to stop jumping them for now and let them recoup. And most owners are, oh my gosh, because they don't know. Dock diving is a newer sport, and a lot of people are just getting into it, and they don't know what cold tail is.
Yeah, can you explain a little bit for the folks here that might not know what that is?
Okay, sure. Cold tail is similar to like a person rolling their ankle when you're walking. So it's like a sprain of the tail. It's not necessarily because the water is cold. It could be that they overexerted it in the water, or maybe when they jumped and landed, it kind of twisted funny, and then they just kind of hold it down into the side, and you can tell that it's not right. Like I said, it's like a sprain. So it usually gets better within a couple days, but it is painful for them. So at that point, when they get it, I know Jackson's had it a couple times, is we just, you know, let them have crate rest or just hang out and not really do anything. Oh gosh, I was just thinking of something and I forgot.
It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's not difficult. It's very common in labs. Very common.
Yeah,
But it's one of the advantages to having a Doberman. You never get cold tail.
Yeah, they call it cold tail, dead tail.
but then he needs a scuba suit, so I don't know. But yeah, that cold tail. My previous lab, Kaiser, got that one time, and it's very interesting how unnatural it looks for a dog's tail work. It's a pretty weird looking thing when you see a dog has a tail and it can't really move it, or you know.
Right. Yeah, especially the labs too, because they're always up and wagging. So you know when it's hanging down to the side, you're like, oh, there's something wrong with that.
Yeah. So okay, go ahead.
What are some of the other common, I hate to say illnesses because it's not really illness, common injuries that you see? Is ACL, is there a concern for ACL tears or anything like that in dock diving, just like in agility, or no?
Not really. The biggest one that we've seen, like I said, we're going on our 8th season. The biggest one we've seen is like stubbed toes or broken toenails.
Oh.
But besides that, I mean, every now and then, of course, chiropractor, they say they're a little out of whack, or, you know, we really haven't really had too many like pulled muscles or anything. It's usually, like I said, the toes and the toenails.
Okay.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, if you ever have gone, to watch it, just one dog dock dive that really, really loves it. Oh my gosh, they lose fine motor control quickly, screaming and yelling and
Right.
Not being aware of where their feet are. So
yes. And then they just hit so hard, they're just bam and jump, that if they hit it just right, they're gonna crack them.
Sure. So, kind of speaking of that, where, I mean, everyone's probably deaf by the end of the day at a dock diving event, right? Because the dogs are just, I mean, I remember, mine just trying to just drag me up the stairs. How, like, what precautions do you as a competitor, or even just, somebody playing, take for safety? Do you have special leash? Do you hold it a certain way? Like, I mean, these dogs are so excited to jump some of them. How do you keep yourself and your dog safe?
Okay, so when we have running orders, so you kind of know, and a lot of times we'll go A to Z, Z to A, M to L, so you'll know when your dog is coming up, and we'll announce a couple dogs ahead of time. So at that point, we only have, 1 to 2 dogs that are waiting to get on the dock. So it minimizes how many are out and about. There's the potty area. You want to go away from the pool, not by the pool. And then 1 dog is only allowed on the dock at a time. We have gates. So that way we help minimize that. A lot of times we will have, well, not a lot of times, but we'll have loose dogs. Like somebody just is moving them from a crate to the car or whatever. Dog gets away from the owner. Of course, the first place they all go is to the dock.
Right.
But everybody out here is kind of aware that when there's a loose dog, everybody yells loose dog, and it's loud. So everybody knows. And if your dog is out, you're going to be more aware of what's going on. You're grabbing your dog, and that way we can nip it in the bud before anything happens. We have people that come out that are more not really dog aggressive with, their dogs aren't dog aggressive, but maybe they're more higher drive, or maybe they don't like other dogs. So they know they park far away. They listen to when it's their turn. They'll take the long way around. So we have a lot of competitors that are very, what's what I'm looking for? Aware of their dogs, which is great. Newer people that come out, I like to talk to them and see what their dog is like. What do we need to do to set it up for success rather than failure, and any issues that we may have. So if your dog is maybe more leash aggressive, because there's not really, like mine doesn't like to be on a leash. She doesn't like other dogs coming in her space when she's on a leash. So I make sure you stay, keep her away from everybody. So the same thing, I'll discuss that with the new person. Okay. And what else do we get? We remind people that it's not a dog park. This isn't a time when it's an event. You're not there to actually socialize your dog. And socializing, it doesn't mean they have to be nose to nose in order to socialize. It's just being here is socializing.
Yes.
I had people that come out that have wanted to do dock diving, but were afraid that their dog was a little too aggressive. But what they would do is come out, they would park in the field, open the back of the car, keep the dog in the crate. And then each event, they would get closer and closer and closer. And then they get them out when they felt more comfortable, walk them around, put them back in the car. Just like I was talking, those baby steps. We do baby steps for everything out here.
So
and the next thing you know, they're jumping.
That's great.
Here's my other question and this is for, so in your case, your dogs jump very often and they get to swim more often because there's a pool. So what do you do from a grooming perspective? Do you bathe them every so often to get rid of the chlorine? Do you bathe them every time? Do you use anything special? Same with my with the ears. What my labs, if I swim, when I have a chance to swim her often, one ear tends to get it's not infected, but it gets kind of gunky, so I have to keep it. Are there any tips or tricks that you can share, especially with people that have the new young puppies that are, that you don't want them to get any infection, you don't want them to get any skin issues. So what are some of the things that they could do during the season, right, while they're dock diving, to keep their dog's coat and keep them from getting, because I know Jives, one of her ears, it's not bad, but always one of her ears tends to be a little bit more gunky than others when she swims a lot.
Right, yeah, especially with the labs, because the ears are folded. Right. The water gets in there and doesn't come out. There's a couple things, believe it or not, especially during the summer, my dogs are rarely in the pool. They're usually only in the pool during competitions because we're doing rentals and lessons throughout the week. So usually I try and throw them in at the end of the day if I can. Maybe they're in there once or twice a week. As far as grooming goes, mine, I can't tell you the last time they got a bath. It's usually they get in the pool and that's their bath. The chlorine can dry them out a little bit. So depending on your dog, if you see that they're drying out a little bit, it might be a good idea to hose them off when they're done, just to get that little extra out of them. As far as the ears go, I've learned the vet recommended using a drying agent versus an ear wash, because the ear wash is just putting in more liquid into the ear, whereas the dryer it's like a powder, so it goes in and then it helps absorb the excess liquid that's in the ear. And since I've been doing that, because Jackson used to get the ear infections all the time and the gunk in the ear, but since I use that, it's helped quite a bit.
I haven't heard of that. It's a powder, you said, that goes into the ear?
Yes, it is. It is. It's actually like a tea tree. It's an ear drying agent.
Okay. Interesting.
Trying to think.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, no,
It's a green bottle.
Yeah. Well, no, it's like I know, like, I'm gonna try to swim jive more, but I know I have to put something in her ear because I don't want to deal with that. So
Right.
And I knew there was a powder. I was just wondering if there was a specific one. But the vet recommends it's a drying agent.
Yeah.
Okay. I will look for that because I know.
There's my.
It's coming.
Hold on 1 second.
She's gonna demo
Upstairs
the drying
in
agent for us.
my cabinet. There should be the green bottle should be in there. Hopefully, if that's where I put it.
So some of it too, with the drying and the bathing and all of that, some of that also has a lot to do with how much chlorine's in the pool, right?
Yes. So if it's a high chlorine level, then of course it's just like people, it's going to dry out their skin, and then they're going to get that white kind of dandruffy looking on them.
Okay.
So I try to keep that off of them. I bought a dryer this year, so I'm going to hopefully have a little drying station, so that way they can dry them off. Same thing kind of goes with what we were talking about, the cold tail. Good thing to do is make sure they're dry and you walk them for a bit before shoving them in the crate. Because if you just get them and then shove them in the crate when they're wet, and it's just like us, when we work out really hard and then you sit down, you can end up getting cramps. So it's similar to that. So you want to dry them off really good, walk them around for a minute or so, and then put them back in their kennel.
Okay. Interesting.
That makes sense totally. Because you know what? Yeah, that's probably what happened to Kaiser. He was swimming, and then I just shoved him in the crate after that. So yeah.
Yeah.
And so do you think that the dogs that tend to get
Hang on 1 second, Nance. She's gonna show the.
All right.
Nance, hold on. She's gonna show this drying agent.
So it's there you go. Vet's Best.
Okay.
Ear Relief Dry.
Ear Relief Dry.
Yeah.
All right.
See, so it keeps dogs' ears free of excess moisture and controls odor.
Send that link.
Dog's Best. I don't know if she can. I will.
Yeah, I don't know if I can.
Drying. What is it called? Drying.
Ear Relief Dry. I know they have it on Amazon.
All right. All right. Here you go.
That's your relief wash. Love it.
Oh, he gave the wrong link anyway. No.
That's okay.
Yeah. No, that's it. It's really good stuff. It's like I said, it's kind of like it looks like a liquid and it feels like a liquid, but then once it goes into the ear, it dries up and then sucks it all out.
Okay. All right. So, Nancy, go ahead. I know you were trying to ask a question there.
Yes.
You forgot what it was? Sorry about that.
Oh, you know I'm old. I can't remember my
Oh, you're not supposed to tell people that.
Oh, sorry. What was I going to say? So I know swimming has a lot of benefits for dogs. It builds up their stamina and cardio and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And keeps them pretty lean. It's a really good exercise for that. So, do you think? So I guess my question is, so what other surprising byproducts of swimming? Because now that you're so into dock diving, because like for example in nose work, it's fun for the dogs to sniff out their stuff, their odors and stuff. But we've also found that it's really it helps the dogs focus and attention and everything else in regular life. So is there anything in dock diving and that sport that you're like, oh, this is a nice byproduct of, besides having fun and jumping the dog and swimming and exercise and all the good stuff, that you found that besides having nice tired dogs, which is really fun.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, that's
the
the good part.
Is there anything else you found that's like, you know, it gives them more, or any different things that you find that that you've been into the swimming that you've found that your dogs didn't have before?
A lot of stuff that I've known, well, not a lot, but some of the stuff I've noticed would be, what do you call it? A lot of dogs being more confident. The whole thing just boosts them. So people would say at home that their dogs helped them come out of their shell. So a shy dog that really didn't want to go do things now loves it. I have people that tell me when they pull off the highway that their dog starts whining because they know where they're going. You know, or they turn down the street and the dog's barking and ready to go, and because it's just something they enjoy. So now their dog is, you know, happier at home because dogs need a job. So this dock diving kind of, or swimming, becomes their job, and then it just gets them more happy in life.
So that confidence building just transfers over into everyday life.
Yeah.
That's what we see in nose work as well. So
yeah. And I know my lab, nose work and swimming are her two favorite things: food and water.
Food and water. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if you guys out there have any questions for them, please let us know. This has been one of our quieter groups where nobody's asking things tonight.
Shannon, the reason we're doing this, we're wanting to bring is like I don't think one of the things we wanted to share is like there's other sports that people can do, and I know for dock diving, you guys are about. Could you tell us about how far? You're about 2 hours away from where we are, from the Chicago area, and from Joanne. How far away are they from that?
They're an hour from me. Yep.
So I have personally been at Shannon and Kristen Shannon's. It is a lovely place, and it's very well organized and run really well. And if you can make it there, it's a wonderful place for the dogs to learn how to swim. They're very patient. My lab loved it, like from the minute she walked in there, and I wish we can make it there more often. But if you want to try and swim, you know, get your dogs out there. It's a really great place to do it. Because now there's still not very many places that have competitions. Where are some of the local competitions in our area, Shannon? I know there's a place up in Wisconsin. Where else? Is there any place else closer?
Well, thank you for the kind words, though. That was really nice. There is a new facility that opened up in Antioch.
Oh yeah, that's Audrey. And,
yeah,
that's oh my god, Flint Creek.
Yeah, Flint Creek. Mm-hmm. So she just became a NAD facility, and I think they're going to be doing lessons and everything out there. Then there's 3 Hounds up in Wisconsin. Think Positives in Wisconsin. I don't believe there's anything in Iowa.
Not competition-wise, no. There's a couple of random pools and ponds that you can go to, but nothing big like you guys.
Yeah, and then there's one down south, pretty much by the Missouri border, that just opened up as well. So they're really starting to pop up now.
Yeah, I did hear about that. That there's a place. I was was just in Springfield. That's where I'm going home from. I was in Springfield, and that they mentioned there's a place that's putting up a pool down by where you said by the Missouri.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a lot of the pools are they're not in very heavily populated areas, so it's kind of a bummer.
Right, because you can't put a competition pool in a Chicago backyard. That's why.
No. And then to put one in a building out there, I would just imagine it would be unattainable with unless you have millions and
Yeah, the size and the cost. Yep.
yeah.
So yeah, I was gonna say too, if you go out and just take some swimming lessons, if you're lucky to catch Chris out there, he is one heck of a talented photographer. I had some of the most amazing photos of my last border collie. He had a ball in his mouth and he's just dripping, and it was the most detailed pictures. He was so happy, and they were gorgeous. So
yes, thanks. Yeah, he does a lot of research in his pictures and lighting and angles, and there's a lot that goes into it.
Now he photographs what he can sometimes in your competitions as well, correct?
Yes, if he's here, he'll be out there with his camera.
Nice. So Barb was asking, are you open now?
No, not yet. We are going to be officially open as long as the weather cooperates, May 17th.
Okay. And if people are interested in swimming lessons or learning to dock dive, so how would they best get in touch with you? Through your website?
Yes, through the website that has the schedule on there and all the information is needed.
Okay, so we'll post that up there, southtowncanine.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can schedule your swims and stuff right on the website, which I thought was awesome and very convenient. So thanks.
Yeah, it takes a lot of voicemails back and forth.
Yes, I can imagine.
So we do have a question from Finn. What do you do for dogs that hesitate at the end of the dock before jumping?
So that you're going to want to try and get into the dog's head, which is not an easy task, as to why they're hesitating. If they're running and jumping off the ramp really good, but they're not off the dock, there's a couple of things we can try. We have a baby dock that kind of splits the difference between the dock and the water. So it'd be a foot down to the baby dock and then a foot down to the water. So, and then we could try that to see if that was the issue, the height. If not, then maybe too much thinking again. So the play, turn, and throw. It's trial and error. So you just got to keep trying different things to see why they're not jumping off. We do throw the toy in the air with the net lots of times to try and get them excited about their toy. Or if they don't care about that toy, maybe they need a new toy. It's like I said, it's trial and error. And like I said, with my bully, it took me 3 years of trying different things. We had a whole routine we had to go through before I could get her to jump. Now it turned into I have to sit and kick the water, then she'll jump. So it's just trying to figure them out. It's a puzzle.
So one other question about stuff.
And dogs really.
Go ahead, Nance.
Yeah. And dogs really should be toy motivated to be able to. Well, which is interesting. My lab doesn't usually play with toys as a general rule, but when there's dock diving, she's all about the toys. So you can have a dog that may be not toy motivated on dry land, but in water they could be more motivated because they need to be toy motivated to do dock diving, right?
It absolutely helps. Absolutely. We do have one that comes out here that all she has to say is hop in and the dog will jump in.
Nice.
Yeah, so no toy involved there, but for 98% of all the other dogs, it helps.
So yeah, I've seen a couple of different things. I mean, I know the bumper is pretty common. I've seen people use wubbas, chuck it balls. Is there anything that they couldn't use, as far as a toy?
Food, anything alive or was alive and now dead. Those are pretty much.
I found a squirrel on the side of the highway.
Right? Yeah. So somebody had to try one of those things for them to roll it out.
Yes, you're right.
We always joke about that. It's like, oh, come on, Steve did that 2 years ago. Now there's a rule in there, right? Thanks,
Right.
Steve.
But there's, I've seen people throw shoes. I've seen sticks.
Oh my God.
People come up with some creative things, but like I said, whatever it takes to get the dog in the water.
Right. Oh my God, that's funny.
Oh. Noah's apparently pulling the jive moment here today. He says I'm hungry, so. All right. Well, do you guys have any other questions out there? Otherwise, yes, I mean, I think Nancy and I have both been there separately, and it's a beautiful facility in the farmlands of Rock Falls.
Cornfield, for sure.
Yes, they are surrounded by cornfields, so it is a nice, quiet, right, kind of pristine area. It's beautiful to jump at. And I know you guys are so patient and kind, and you might not get your dream the first time you go of your dog hopping in the water and being a fantastic swimmer, but boy, you guys sure shape the dogs and really try and make it fun and happy and leave them with, they didn't have a bad experience, right? Which is the key to making it better.
Exactly. Yeah. Setting them up for success. During events, people can kennel right out of their cars. A lot of people like that. So they can just back on up and open the hatch and ready to go.
Nice.
So it works well.
Nice. Well, Nance, did you have anything else?
No. Thank you for coming on. I know it was kind of weird not having a picture of my shepherd in there, but I couldn't find a picture of my lab. So there you go.
That's all right.
Yes. So thank you to you and Chris, both of you.
Thanks. It's been fun. It's fun. He says thanks.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. And thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate you guys.
Hope to see some of you out.
Absolutely. Come see them this summer. Today would have been a great time. So.
Yeah. For sure.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.